As I mentioned in my testimony, just I think very disturbingly, yesterday, the Washington Post reported that DHS plans to spend millions on troubled radiation detectors. And I want to focus on that if I can. And it basically says the Department of Homeland Security plans to spend more than $300 million over the next 4 years on radiation detection equipment that has not been fully tested and may not work. And this is according to the budget request and report by the Government Accountability Office. That's very concerning to me. And we're talking about detecting radiation. This is nuclear threats against the United States and its homeland, dirty bombs perhaps in the homeland. Mr. Maurer, Mr. Edwards, can you tell me, particularly Mr. Maurer with GAO, tell me what the concern was with this finding?
We've done Mr. Chairman, we've done a lot of work over the past several years looking at the ASP program. It's been troubled from pretty much day one. There are a number of concerns about the program's inability to clearly meet requirements, come up with a clear cost estimate, have good time frames for how long it's going to take before it's finally deployed. It's also not clear whether the new technology is actually better than existing technology that's already deployed on the borders. Some of our prior works also highlighted problems with the testing that's been done so far with the program, as well as coordination between DNDO and CBP, the offices within DHS that are actually developing the technology and the actual end user of the technology. So the bottom line has been a snake-bit program from day one.
Mr. Edwards, very succinctly.
We haven't looked at it because GAO was looking at it. I concur with my colleague from GAO. We plan on looking at this in our FY 2012 plan.
Dr. O'Toole, I want to give you a chance to respond to this, allegation in the Washington Post that these systems may not work, and yet we're spending millions of dollars on it. Can you respond?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is not a program run by S&T. This is a DNDO program, but I appreciate the opportunity. One, the Washington Post article is very misleading. There's been lots of testing of the ASP, as GAO suggests. What hasn't been done is operational testing, which is the very last stage before you actually go in for a procurement and try and buy something. And the reason there hasn't been operational testing even scheduled is because we don't think we're going to procure this. The ASP program is one of these technologies where we are pushing the envelope of physics, so it hasn't worked as well as we had hoped. That's true. I take no issue with what GAO just said. But we are buying a few of these machines to put in the field to try and understand why they don't work and if they might be incrementally improved. Understand the problem now is that we're getting as many as 300 hits in a single port per day on containers that look like they might have radioactive material in them. Right now, our only option is to unpack each container or go around it with a handheld device. These are big containers about the size of the curtain behind you, and try and see if we can detect radioactive materials, which we think is an unsatisfactory set of options. So
if I have to move quickly because of the votes on the floor, but
sorry.
No, thank you for your testimony. Let me just bring up another point. Mr. Maurer, you mentioned TSA lacks an overall plan, and they have spent, it's $8 billion that we're looking at. Can you explain what you mean by they lack an overall plan?
Sure. Right now, TSA has explosive detection technology deployed at airports that meet two standards. Some meet standards that were set in 1998. Others meet standards that were set in 2005. Their long-term plan is to meet more rigid or more stringent standards that were set just last year. The work that we conducted found that there's no overall strategic plan at TSA to determine how long it's going to take to roll out the new technology. In other words, update existing systems as well as procure new systems that can meet the requirements that were set last year.
That's something I look forward to working with you on in the future as well. Let me just conclude by saying that I've had numerous, in the private sector, numerous companies come to me and say they just can't get access to the Department of Homeland Security. They can't get a meeting to talk about their technologies. One company in particular, does holographic maps for our troops in Afghanistan. has contracts with the DOD, Proven Technology, Border Patrol, likes these maps. They've seen them. They've requested the department look at these maps, and yet they can't get a meeting with the Department of Homeland Security. I have sent 3 letters asking for this meeting over the last several months, and I have not had a response. I would hope that the department would be a little more responsive, not only to me, but more importantly to the private sector in looking at new technologies that could make a difference.